on the central coast of California and in the valley. Let's see. So yeah, I teach 5th grade, and I'm interested in flipped everything, flipped classroom, flipped PD. So yeah. And how about you?
My name is Jed Butler. I teach high school math in the Southern California Inland Empire, kind of in Riverside County. And I love technology. I love math probably just a little bit more than technology. But the idea of flipped has always been interesting to me, especially because technology has become so prevalent in our district. We've gone one-to-one with Chromebooks, and teachers are with MacBooks and iPads. So why can't we give them more access through that? And I have an idea for some flipped professional development.
Do you have 2 things going on at once? Because I hear like a delayed of you.
Maybe. I don't think so.
You don't have another...
No. I have my iPad out. I don't know if it's coming out of that one too. I'm going to turn it off. Do you have the YouTube video running as well? Because the YouTube video live broadcast will be delayed.
Oh, maybe I do. Look at that, I do. So it's me. Sorry about that. Okay, so it was me.
No problem.
I didn't realize I had that on. Sorry.
No, that's okay. That's happened to me before too.
At once. All right, so I actually like math. I teach 5th grade, and what my partner teacher and I are doing next year is she's going to do all the science and language arts. I know, very odd setup. And I'm doing all of the math and social sciences, and then we're going to split the writing between the 2 of us. So I'm more of a math person too.
That's interesting, because usually you would think like the humanities and then the math and science split, but that's cool that you guys are crossing over that way.
Well, it kind of works that way because both of us are math science people, and we both really like math and science. So we wanted to do this whole thing where I teach a subject and for both classes, for both of our classes, and she would do the same thing, so it kind of cuts down on our load, right?
Right.
And since we're both math and science, we kind of had to split it evenly, and she gave me math because I'm the more senior teacher there. And so I gave her science because she absolutely hates social studies. So, so we just ended up doing it that way. Yeah.
That's cool. I think I follow you on Twitter too, but I'm not sure.
Your name sounds familiar. Your face is familiar. Do you have the same Twitter face? Twitter?
Yeah, face on Matt. Twitter? Yeah. Matt Butler is on Twitter. I'm trying to open Twitter here in the background. Let's see. I know I've seen your thing. If not, I'll add you right now anyways. Now, techie. Yeah. We follow each other.
Yeah.
Or, there we go. All right.
Okay, so somebody else is trying to join in, and she can't figure it out, so she's sending me messages.
If she's been on the invite list, if you just copy and paste the URL into some type of message into her, that like plus.google.com, the one at the top of the video there.
Yeah. Oh, cool. Okay.
She can get to it just through that. She doesn't have to go through some other button clicking.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm not the best at this, so
that's okay.
I appreciate your help. There we go. All right.
I learned more about it today than I learned in the last 3 months, probably. A lot longer than that, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm still trying to figure it all out. I'm like, okay, I'll try and figure it out. So, okay, so flipped. Do you do anything? I know this is supposed to be flipped PD, like professional development.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know anything about that. I'm trying to get my principal to do it, but he hasn't gotten into that yet. So
we've done because I wasn't a tech coach at my school site. We had a tech coach, but I was kind of a secondary, informal tech person at the school site, so I interacted with him and the other tech coaches across the district a lot. He ran our LMS for the learning management system for the school site is Haiku. I don't know if you've heard of them or not.
Yeah.
But he ran his So that was his platform, and he would just do a bunch of screencasts on how-tos and this and that for running things. But I think the part of the conversation I want to bring up in here as well. Who's this? Welcome, Susan. Can you hear us, Susan?
Hi, I'm learning. Sorry.
That's okay.
Hello.
And Marlon.
Hi.
Susan, introduce
Hi.
yourself and where you're from and stuff.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, awesome. I'm from New Hampshire,
Yes.
and this is my first time, so I'm excited.
Right on. You're experiencing flipped professional development, just about.
Woohoo! I'm
Yeah.
thrilled.
I'm from Hong Kong, and I'm really interested in professional development because I'm a curriculum coordinator, and I have to help with arranging PD at our school. So.
Okay, so you're saying you're from Hong Kong, but are you in Hong Kong right
Oh,
now?
I'm sorry. I am in Hong Kong right now.
That's awesome! Awesome!
So cool.
Whoa!
I'm so glad I finally get to meet you sort of face to face because I've seen
Hi,
you
Lisa.
on Twitter, so I'm so glad that you're here and I get to meet you.
Marlon, can you put in on your toolbox? There's a secondary input box where you can put in
Sure.
your Twitter handle.
Sure.
I'll add you in on that. This is way cool.
Yeah, I teach it. Well, I mean, I was a teacher, and then I changed to a curriculum coordinator. So I'm working at an American school. So this conversation should be okay.
No problem. This is way cool. I'm still kind of like tripping out a little bit on it.
Oh.
Me too.
Oh, it's all global. I'm actually a Canadian background, so Chinese and Canadian. So so it's not that different, but yeah.
But still,
So
yeah. But even if you were like in Australia, that would still be cool that you're connecting across an ocean.
Okay. Well, yeah. I'm really excited about because I thought of like the idea of doing something like a flipped PD with getting the staff to do something whereby they do something like an ed camp. Is that what the flip PD is about? Sort of an ed camp style PD.
It could be. I think when people hear the term flipped, it usually has the idea of technology interaction before or after, just outside the discussion. So you're not having like a live session in person where you're also dealing with all the professional development troubleshooting. So their homework is going through the professional development content somewhere else, usually with technology as their platform.
Oh, okay.
Lisa, what would you say about that?
Sorry, I'm trying to invite somebody else in, so honestly I wasn't paying attention.
No problem. Lisa's the initiator. I was just the first follower for this thing.
And the first follower, sorry, I'm into Q Rockstar. First followers are the most important people, so go for it. Yeah.
There you go.
Well, can I talk, or can I ask a question?
No.
Well, I was actually wondering about doing not just professional development with teachers, but actually taking this and almost doing the flipped type of meeting with my students after school, or even I'm starting a brand new team and we're trying to organize like expectations and that type of thing, and I thought that would be a great way to do this type of flipping.
So when you say this type of flipping, are you referring to Google Hangouts?
Yes. Like this is the first time I've ever experienced this. I've done chats with people, but this, to me, obviously global community is fantastic.
Yeah. I would say with my experience in it, I helped co-moderate an ed chat on GeoGebra, which is a math software.
Okay.
And we just started this chat like I don't know, 6 weeks ago or something. but we alternate weeks where one week we are planning through Google Hangout, and then the next week we're running the Twitter chat on Twitter. And if you don't know about Ed Chats on Twitter, that's another topic, but maybe we can throw some links in the chat about that too. And you should probably know about it though if you heard about this. But the idea of us being able to plan on Google Hangout and that face-to-face interaction accelerates the conversation so much. Just the discussion portion of it.
Okay.
So maybe, like, I'm just thinking out loud here with what you said and kind of what was mentioned earlier, maybe by Marlon, I can't remember. But it's almost like for the professional development, you have them look at some article, video, website, something that they interact with some type of content, but then the discussion doesn't have to be in the same room. It can be on a Google Hangout. What are you guys thinking?
Yeah, I think that's brilliant, honestly. So
you're saying...
Marlon, you were going to say something.
I was just going to say, you know what I think would be really cool is if staff members from different schools around the world did more of this sort of thing of a hangout. Like if we did some background reading of technology of some kind, and then I think it would be really powerful, for instance, if our staff in Hong Kong were to do some PD with another staff in the States, and so if we did the flipped on our own and then come and have this type of conversation, I mean, I would love to see something like that happening.
Me too.
That's brilliant. I love that.
Well, we have 4 people. Lisa, where are you from?
Oh,
California.
Yeah.
Central Coast, California. And when I say Central Coast, I'm in the valley, so don't think like the nice coastal area.
When you say the valley, what valley do you mean?
Simi Valley?
Venus Valley. It's off the 101. So you probably know the speed trap, or you've had to stop and go to the bathroom. Because we have a lovely Starbucks.
I was thinking Silicon Valley, but okay.
I was thinking...
Sorry.
I grew up in San Joaquin Valley, which is like the armpit of California. It's the middle.
Yeah,
we're like inland valley. I don't live there anymore, but that's where I grew up. Hey, my battery is dying. I'm going to go grab a power cord. I'll be right back.
Okay. And right now I'm actually putting up a link to a spreadsheet for weekly Twitter chats. So if it's hashtags, so Marlon, you probably already know these. You're all over the place. Mm-hmm. Susan, if you're not used to Twitter chats, I would just suggest like lurking on Twitter to begin with to kind of get, I mean, that's a really great way of doing professional development too.
I do a lot of social studies because I'm a social studies teacher, so I do social studies Teach Like a Pirate and social studies chat. So I've had some great connections that way. Yeah, but is there a hashtag for this, for what we're doing right now? On Twitter?
The hashtag is EdCampHome.
I know, but I just thought for our flipped PD group?
No.
Oh, okay. Bummer. We should make one.
So, Susan, where are you at?
I live in New Hampshire right now. I live right on the border of Massachusetts in the forest, and I teach 7th grade students world history, European world history, and I spend a lot of time, Lisa, when you said, do I do a lot of time on Twitter? That's probably, I hang out there way too much, but it's good. And I feel like my school is trying to come into the 21st century. We've fallen behind. We have a terrible networking wireless system, which is being upgraded this summer, and I've been the one who's brought a lot of things into our school. So, like, just doing this Google Hangout and talking about flipping professional development, I think my whole faculty will be blown away when I tweet this later. So, I have to take a picture, too, but I'm like, I know how to do it on my MacBook Pro. I know how to do it on my Yeah.
Well, Susan, your
Command
faculty
Shift 3.
What
Hey,
is it?
Susan?
Command
Yeah.
Shift 4 will get like whatever the hash marks. Yeah.
Okay. Command Shift 4. Oh, nope.
Mhm.
Command Shift 3.
Well, Command Shift 4 will give you the crosshairs.
Okay.
Yeah, Command Shift
Right.
4 lets you crop it, so you
Oh,
can
okay.
drag over whatever area you want.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, I don't know if I missed something big in the conversation, but it looked like you guys were having fun. I want to talk about pros and cons, because there's definite professional development cons too. Like, let's say you want them interacting with a physical object.
Mm.
Or I'm trying to be real like picky here, but
Right.
because if we're gonna try to, like Susan is telling us, if we're gonna go back and sell this idea to other people, we need to have comebacks where no, look, this is how you deal with that.
Mm.
So pros and cons. What's good about doing professional development this way? Let's just list them. We'll list them in the chat.
Well, for the pros, I can see the flexibility of the time, because a lot of teachers will say, oh, I don't have time to have PD or so forth. And if you gave them something where they could do on their own in their own time, it might sell it better.
It could, but being devil's advocate, I can definitely see some teachers going, well, if they want me to learn it, then they just need to give it to me, during my work hours, and they're not going to want to do their own professional development on their own time, which I don't agree with, because I think we're all professionals and we all need to be learning at all times anyhow.
I'm glad you said that.
What would you guys say about a pro? Because I would say, more districts are getting specialist type people with technology or curriculum or whatever, but if they start having office hours in that, it's usually about an hour after school hours where specialists are still on the clock, but teachers are kind of, wrapping up for the day. Do any of you do like office hours or things like that?
No.
Like, do you know what I'm saying though?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm on office hours.
But like an online office hour where I don't have to come to your office or pick up the phone and remember what the phone number is to call you. I can just click on this link that I know where it is, easy to access because I've saved it somewhere.
Great idea.
Do you think people
it really
would
is,
utilize
because
that?
then you can just talk with them and then have the professional development right there. I love that idea. God, you are brilliant.
What about, here's another idea, piggybacking on yours. What if you recorded the discussions you had and then saved them to a YouTube account, and then people can access it? Which would be
I'm gonna throw out 2 pros and cons to that. So pro, public accessibility. Con, confidentiality. Let's say they want to talk with you about something. But here's something that, I don't know if you guys knew this, when you run a Hangout with somebody, not a Hangout on air, but just a Hangout, it is archived for you and people invited. So let's say, you wanted to talk about some troubling experience they had in class. Or if you're an evaluator and you want to do the debrief session online, they can go back and watch that conversation again later, but it's not public to any other people that were not invited. Does that make sense?
Can they share it? Can they share it with other people?
Not after the fact, unless they were like recording their screen and audio while they had it playing, or they'd have to, jury rig something in there. But it's still accessible. So you have that too. Like imagine principals that could, bang through all these debriefing and briefings for evaluations of educators instead of having to say, okay, come to my office and let's talk there. Or if you have, because like my district's kind of small, so we have some academic coaches, but not per school site. It's like district-wide. So if you're getting an interaction with like an academic coach, it's only, like you would have to be going from school to school to school.
That's a great idea. Then they could just connect with you from wherever they are. Is that what you're suggesting?
Yeah, exactly. So what are people going to say against that?
They might not want to be recorded. That would be the only con.
Mm-hmm.
Can we reassure them then that if we just do the Google Hangout, it's only shared between, or should we even mention that?
You have to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to be honest.
Yeah.
We don't want to be sneaky with them.
The other side of it is then they could opt out. So they're given the choice, and if they choose to participate, then when you were saying that it's recorded again, they could also have access to go back and do reflection and then take that forward to make improvements or whatever, to work on what they shared. I'd see that as a pro.
Okay.
Almost like note-taking.
The option of choice.
Yeah.
In there.
It depends on also the teacher and their how comfortable they are with using things like Google Hangout. Some teachers, and especially maybe more veteran teachers, may not be comfortable with using the technology tools. So it's I could see some people may not get involved with getting recorded or so because of fear.
Somebody else got something running?
I did. I was clicking on something. Sorry, my bad.
No problem.
But it was on a different computer this time.
So what would you guys have as like a pre or post experience? So there's, of course, we're here, we're interacting, but what would you want to happen before it, or what would you want to happen after this Google Hangout experience?
I think for teachers at my school and in my district generally, they need to become aware of what Google Hangouts are. They don't use it. Like they're really novice. So I think
just start with
having some sort of PD to do this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And I think it would have to be worthwhile for them too to actually do professional development in a flipped sort of setting, so that they can actually understand that when they're doing these things on their own, instead of correcting, I'm using a classroom, but instead of correcting papers like you normally would at home, or sitting in a boring staff meeting where we all have to sit and listen to things, just go and look and review policies or whatever it is, something very simple to get them into it.
I'm just like brainstorming this out loud too, but we had 4 organizers for this event, and there's 250 people, but if you look at it, there's 5 of us, or 4 of us, however many there are, in a small conversation here, Yeah. So when you want to do like a professional development, you were hinting at sitting back in your chair, being bored at that big meeting because everybody had to go. But if you're able to do something like this, where people could small group talk on something, you could cut down some of that.
Yeah, and you definitely
talk about what you want to talk about.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I'm thinking you could also use it for faculty meetings, which isn't professional development necessarily. But I'm thinking we have a new administrator who breaks us into groups, but we wouldn't have to come to a faculty meeting. I mean, we could all be in a meeting like this and then break out into almost like the Ed Camp sessions, and we'd have it recorded to share back for the leadership team or to discuss ideas. You might lose some people's input because they might not want to have their voices recorded, but it might also increase some people who wouldn't speak, because then they wouldn't have the fear factor of being in the whole faculty meeting. You'd be in a small group like this.
Yeah, it's so much more engaging.
Yes,
You're so much more of a participant. Yeah. Do you guys have any of your school sites or districts, or like Marlon, you said you work more at a district or site level. Do your school sites have we call them PLCs, where it's a professional learning committee. Yeah, just like the small group teams. Because like even in my district, we have PLCs, and it's great because you get to talk to people like this. But then we don't get to interact with other school sites that have the same PLC teams. So why can't we use this for those kind of meetings too? You know, maybe go ahead.
My first thought of that would be there's a part of me that says that people still like the face-to-face kind of connection, and it's almost okay. We're one school, so it would be ridiculous for us to do a Google Hangout with each other kind of thing. So that doesn't work like that. But even I'm imagining even if a school, two different schools, similar PLCs and so forth, there will be some people that will protest and say it makes more sense why we would drive and meet with each other than just to talk with each other on computer. I mean, that's just a mindset of people, I think. For some, we're a different group here on the virtual Hangout.
Yeah. Well, I'm thinking even in my district, if I were to drive from my high school to the high school furthest from me, it's it's 15, 20 minutes without traffic and 40 to 50 minutes with traffic.
Oh my
God. Yeah, I know. So for me, Google Hangouts would be great. It'd be like, hey, we have this 45 minutes before school for our PLC meeting. We do it weekly, and it's about a 45-minute session. And that way I don't have to hire a sub for one period or anything like that. Like I can just meet with you while we're meeting. Or the other thing I was thinking is even we tend to have team leaders. Maybe even just the team leaders could do their Google Hangout. So that they could and then they could bring that back to, like you're saying, the face-to-face that most people value, but you could still get some cross-collaboration there.
Yeah.
So
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. I was going to say, I think the biggest thing would be making those connections with who'd be willing to meet. Like you're saying, like who's willing to jump in. Go ahead.
I was just going to say that I just typed up a whole bunch of things there in that sidebar chat thing. I was just thinking if we did this with smaller groups of people, they could probably also generate other ideas of how to use it in a beneficial way and then build on that. So you almost like you said, Lisa, start with a foundation and then watch it grow and morph and transition into other possibilities. Because I think, I don't know, Marlon, you were saying also about doing it not just between schools but countries. I mean, there's just so many possibilities.
I think if you did it between countries, I think it really wakes up people like, wow, the possibilities of, what you could really get connected. It starts making sense with Google Hangout why we're just using it more than just a tool, but to expand our perspective and everything. And that's the whole point of the 21st century,
Yeah. We had
the globally minded person.
Yeah.
We had a situation a few years ago where we brought in this expert in something, and they were taking these video cameras and they were having 10 teachers watch this lesson with this classroom, so the kids have like 10 extra people in their classroom. And we all suggested hey, we have Google Hangouts, why don't we go ahead and set it up so that we could just do a Google Hangout. You don't have to take teachers out of their classrooms, you don't have to get subs, you can just do it in a normal environment for the students and then broadcast it out. And I think that would have been a really great way to help introduce teachers into this forum. And unfortunately my district had complications and wasn't able to do that. But I think just even doing something like that and just showing off something awesome in your classroom too is some really good PD for you to watch at home. I mean, you don't want to watch like a half an hour of something because I have the attention span of a gnat, so yeah.
What do you guys think about offering this as a parent-teacher conference access?
I wrote that on the side.
I'm like scared of that. I mean, I don't know. There is the convenience of, you know what, I really need to wrap up this meeting, and you can end the call, and you don't have to wait for them to leave your room. And the same thing for them. If they're uncomfortable with what's going on, they can end it, and no harm there. But I mean, I don't know how many would take advantage of it. I don't know.
In my community, that probably wouldn't happen. It would be a minuscule amount that would even attempt it. It's a farming community, so I have a lot of field worker families that I work with, so they're not going to do that. They come in, they're very traditional. And even a lot of the families that don't work in the fields, regardless of the language they speak or the culture they're from, aren't familiar with technology and really wouldn't. I'd maybe have one every 3 years that might take advantage of that. So I think it depends on the area that you're in as well.
Yeah. And that's totally fair. I mean, that's a reality there that we have to consider,
Susan, you mentioned classroom observations as a way. Could you expand on that?
Well, I'm just thinking, I have never. This is my first interaction like this. And earlier this year, I was teaching, and my principal said, "Oh, have you seen Google Chats?" And I said, "No." And so all of a sudden, I was in the middle of the lesson, and he just started ringing on my computer, and I answered it, and all the kids in my class were like, "What's that? What's going on?" And we were laughing hysterically. And he said, "Well, what are you guys doing? What are you doing, Mrs. Connolly?" And I just took my whole computer and I just turned it to the students, and I said, "You tell him what you're learning about, what I'm teaching you."
Yeah,
and
I think that's a great idea, especially if you have like a tablet device or a mobile device that has the Google Hangouts app on it, because you can just stick that in the back of the room, and then you also, and for better or worse, you get a more authentic experience. The students aren't going like, "Who's this person over in the corner, and do we need to behave good for like an hour?" It's more like, no, this is the reality of it. And that can, just like we were saying before, you can go back and visit that. I really like the idea of classroom observations.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I know it is a bummer. This has been a really good conversation.
This is so much fun.
It is. Yeah. It is. It's great meeting you guys. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for connecting.
Definitely.
Yes. And we should still continue to connect. Who knows? Maybe our staff members might be using each other's schools for
There you
PD.
go.
Yes. I think it would be fantastic. Well, that's what we need to meet about next, is how do we plan that?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. We have each other in our circles.
Yes.
There we go.
All right.
Definitely.
And I'm going to stop the broadcast.